Welcome to RPG Maker Basics number 5. Now at the end of number 4 we had started to do a quest, and I got some things slightly wrong in the beginning, but there was a lot more to it. So I want to get right into that. We're going to create a boss and this is where we really get into things like triggers and switches, and writing multiple event pages. So I made a boss up here and placed him because he's part of our kill quest. We're going to have a quest where an NPC asks us to go kill a boss, and then we go kill it and come back and he rewards us. So where I left off in episode 4 was on page 2, on a second event page here for Admiral Ryui. Now this is slightly different than some people do. Some people start with page 1, and on page 1 they start assigning the quest. But because I had already had dialogue for him and even had it tied to a treasure chest potion, that's why I have multiple pages. You can go back and catch up. But so we had left off with where I had said, congratulated him for finding the potion in the treasure chest. And then I just kind of carried that dialogue on to him offering a quest right here and here. Then I created a choices dialogue, yes or no, like I've done in previous episodes. And this is where we're going to start with our assigning of things. So we have the yes here and no here, just like we did previously, for maybe not previously. I think I might have shown this in a previous episode, but if not, I'll try to be very careful about covering this. So we said yes, no. He's basically saying, do you want to take this quest, yes or no? So it gives us a yes and a no. And under yes and no, I put dialogue to represent yes or no. The NPC, Yui, when you say yes, Yui's going to be happy. He's going to say, good show, I'd be forever grateful. And if you put no, he's sort of like, oh, well, I understand. Now, under no, you don't need to assign any switches or conditions or anything like that, because it's just going to end, because nothing is going to happen. You saying no is just, the dialogue is going to run its course, and you're going to stop talking to the NPC. And if you talk to him again, he'll start all over from the beginning of this page and say, aha, I knew you had a spirit, and adventurer's spirit, and then continue on. And he'll ask you again. And under yes, though, is where we are going to start dealing with switches. Now, a switch can kind of be thought of just like a light switch in a bedroom, but it's sort of like going to a hardware store and buying the light switch. You have a switch, but you didn't do anything with it yet, so clicking it up and down is, into the on position and off position isn't going to make any light turn on and off. We didn't connect it, we didn't hook it up into your bedroom to your light, or I don't have it hooked up in my house. So I could buy 100 switches, and likewise you could make 100 switches in the game. So to make a switch, let's try editing this and I'll show you. So if you go to, let's see what happens when you go to create the switch. So this is the normal click new for event commands. Now, we're going to go under Game Progression, Control Switches, and then it will bring up the Control Switches little window. Now, this drop-down box will open up another window, and in that, you'll have a list of 20 totally empty listings. Now, this is where you can kind of these are basically switches. They're like dead switches, like what I just said, like buying a switch at a hardware store. You can name them. I could name this one new switch if I wanted to. So that's all I did to make these first two switches, the boss dead and NPC quest switch. but we didn't do anything with them yet. We're actually going to do something with them. So let me cancel out of here. So I created this switch. Picked from this list. I went here, named number 2 NPC quest, hit OK, and then it brought me back here, and I made it say single. So it means it operates one switch. We're dealing with one switch, and I made sure that that switch is set to the on position. So that is right below the dialog for when the player would choose yes. Now we need to connect this switch to a new page. So we're going to go to event page 3 that I already made and show you how this is very simple and how it's made up. This is a condition with a result in the window here. We set the condition to switch, but what switch is it a condition of? It's a condition of the NPC quest. Just like this resulting dialogue at the top here was a result of this item, potion item. So we have conditions, switch is check marked, and NPC quest is chosen. That means when the player comes back to talk to the NPC again, the game engine is going to know that you had talked to Admiral Yui and you had chosen yes when he asked you if you wanted to take the quest. It's going to say, oh, I see this page 3 says that you said yes. It says, oh, the switch is on. You said yes. So, switch, NPC quest, and I just gave it this dialogue to sound like sort of waiting dialogue. I said, we're all rooting for you, boy. So, whenever you accept the quest, but do not complete the quest, Admiral Yui will always say this. So now, we're ready to do the other part of our quest. That's the part where we actually will go kill a boss, and the killing of that boss will turn another switch on. And then that switch will be assigned to Admiral Yui here in page 4. So let's go look at that right now. In the Cursed Cave, up at the top here, you see an event I created. Now all I did was right-click and choose New Event. And this totally came to, and this had one event page. It was an event editor page like you always see, and this was totally blank, like a brand new one. And there was no picture here, over here, no monster, no nothing. I'll show you actually, so we'll go through the motions. So if I right click here on that empty square and hit new, there you go. It prints up a totally new page. And that's all I did when I got to get this page. So what I assigned on this page, first of all, on the left, down below, I gave it an image. I just double-clicked and went through the list here and found Big Monster. I thought, oh, that looks good. I'll choose that one. And so I chose that. I gave it an image, and then for movement, I put it on fixed. Now, this is where I started assigning things in the contents window. So what I did was I just gave it some dialogue. I just like I was creating an NPC. Basically, this is like creating an NPC. So I gave it some dialogue. I just said, let me guess, that swashbuckling shyster Yui conned you into coming here, didn't he? Well, your loss. ... of life. But this is where things change. The next line I made was a battle process and I assigned it to a specific monster called Minotaur. Let me show you. So, let me actually go through the motions of making a new one down here. So let's go to new. We get that typical window we always get, but we have to go up to the change through the tabs here. And we have to go to tab 3 under scene control. It's the very first option called battle processing. And then you click on it, and we want it to be on direct designation. We want to directly specify the troop that we're going to use. And in this case, because the default RPG Maker MV database only has 4 things in it, I chose Minotaur. And then I hit OK, and it gives me this. Now, this is where the fight starts. This is where, so you'll trigger dialogue with this character. He'll say that he or she or it will say all of this. Then the battle process will kick into a fight. And you'll have to, in-game, you'll actually be fighting. Now, if you lose, you lose. You get like a game over. So we didn't assign anything special to be a special game over or anything in this case. But if you lose, you'll get a game over. Now, if you win, it will jump immediately to text. And it'll say, you tell that shyster he deserves whatever he gets. And now, I created a new switch from scratch. Like I bought a switch from the hardware store, a light switch. And I named it Boss Dead. And I made sure it's in the on position. But it can't do anything yet. It's going to be tied to another event. It's like it's sort of like basic code, or if A equals 2, then C equals 3. It's a little bit of connecting. You have to kind of imagine it. It's connecting these two events together. So now we have our boss. We gave him some dialogue. We figured out how to start a fight and assign it to Minotaur. And let me show you to better explain that. We can go into the database. Again, it's the little gear icon at the top. And on the left-hand side, there's armors, enemies, and there's a Minotaur. And under enemies, I can tweak the variables of like the HP, the attack strength, and so on. There's also a troops. And under troops, you can see it already has kind of a basic, there's already a page made for troops. So, this is what it looks like when you choose different enemies under troops. So, I don't even fully understand all of this yet and what the differences are you could do, but this allows you to expand and customize your gameplay or your game even more. But for now, I just want to show you that this is here because we assigned it to this troop. So let's get out of there. Now, let me make sure I'm covering everything. Now let's go back to the normal town. Open up Admiral UE again. So now we have another switch called Boss Dead. But now we need to connect it to our quest giver. So we make page 4. And remember, each time you make a page, you have to assign this stuff in the bottom left. You have to give him an image. Make sure you have the movements designated the way you want. Now, page 4, the condition for what happens on the contents of page 4, the condition will be a switch. So kind of try to keep that in mind, because you can insert switches into the contents page, right? Like this. But we're not doing that because we're not we're not placing the switch somewhere. We're just telling you, we're just sort of telling another event what that one switch is doing, and based off what that switch is doing, what this page should be doing. I know it's a little more advanced, and I didn't clarify it as well as I could have. Whoops, we don't want that. Let's cut that out. So, we had hit switch, clicked on the drop-down menu, and I wanted this to be boss dead. So I hit OK. And then, all I did was give it some text. So with the game engine, after I beat the boss, and the boss is killed, a switch is going to turn on that says the boss is dead. So then when I come back to talk to Yui, the game engine, because it reads from the highest number page to the lowest number page, it's going to read page 4 and say, oh, he killed that boss. That switch is on. It says the boss is dead. So page 4, I should run page 4. So, and that's what it'll do. It'll run page 4 right here and say, good show, lad. Thank you for ending. So, let's go ahead and test that out. So, we start our game, we're gonna go, we would talk to Admiral Yui, and he gives us the opening, hello there, I'm Admiral Yui. And he'll tell us, did you hear about that treasure lying out in plain sight? And then you can go open the chest, get the potion, and that condition, the item condition for potion is on. So now it's going to tell him to say, aha, I knew you had an adventurous spirit. Good show. Then it goes straight into more new dialogue, which will lead to him asking if we want to take a quest. It's telling us there's a wily bad guy. Do you want to teach him a lesson? And then I gave it the yes or no choice in his event page. So if we choose no, it says, oh, alright, I understand. And then it will just end, remember? Because I didn't put anything after that. So if I talk to him again, it'll start all over again, as you can see. But if we choose yes, then if I choose yes, he'll speak. Good show, I know you can do it, this town, and I would be forever grateful. Then I have the switch. And that switch is the NPC quest switch that leads to page 3 of Yui's event pages. That will just have him, it's just saying, yes, you chose yes, so he should say something else. And he says, we're all rooting for you. Now, this is the in-between stage, in between accepting the quest and actually completing the quest. So every time I talk to him, he's going to say this. We're all rooting for you. We're all rooting for you. Okay, so now we can go in and go to our dungeon. And I did tweak the strength and how much HP the enemies had to make it a little bit easier to get through this. And a little quicker as well. But we might have to fight 2 or 3 times. Okay, so we might have to fight a couple more times, because instead of just making the boss closer, I had forgotten, but I was too lazy to go back and change it. Okay, so we have to fight one more time before we're almost to the boss. There it is, but we might have to fight one more time. Maybe not. Okay, so now we can, just like talking to an NPC, we can trigger a discussion. So that's what happens. Let me guess, that swashbuckling shyster Huey conned you into coming here, didn't he? Well, your loss of life. Now, the fight is triggered to start, the battle process. Whoa, now we're level 3. Now, I put dialogue after you defeat, after the battle process. That means when the battle is over, he's now saying, you tell that shyster he deserves whatever he gets, and he disappears. Now, I'll explain that a little bit more. Oh shoot, I'm wasting time. So, let's just go out of here. So that all works. What I'll do though is one last time, before we're done with this episode, I will test it and show how it finishes. But let's go back to Cursed Cave. Let's go back to this event, because there is 2 pages. So, this control switch down here is telling the engine that the boss dead switch is on. Okay? It turned on after the fight and I beat the boss. So I made a second event page, and the condition for this one is that switch, the boss dead switch. So I had to click that on, boss dead. Now, as you notice, this whole page is empty. It's like there's nothing here. Well, I made sure to not put an image in the bottom left. So, the game is going to come, and when I defeat the boss, the switch will turn on, and then the engine will see that this switch says boss dead, and if the boss is dead, to show this stuff, to run this page, and on this page there is no image. So when I beat him, he disappears off the map. That's why he disappeared. Okay, so that is pretty much the conclusion of this episode. If you have any questions, if you think I forgot anything, go ahead and ask me in the comments section. But I believe that is it. We have him asking for a quest, which is just dialogue, text that we typed in. Then we did a show choices, yes, no. And under yes, we gave some good dialogue, under no, bad. But under yes, under the good dialogue, we created a switch called NPC Quest, which we tied to page 3 as a condition. And then we wrote some dialogue here. So when this condition is sort of being met, and so it's going to say this. And page 4 is sort of doing the same thing here, but page 4 isn't tied to a previous page for Admiral Yui. Instead, page 4 for Admiral Yui is tied to a switch that's actually on one of the boss's pages. So it's kind of connecting the boss, one of the boss's event pages with Admiral Yui now. So you can do that. There's other ways to do this stuff, but there might even be slightly easier ways to do this, but that's how this works. And basically, when you beat the boss, you come back here, and he's just going to say, "Good show, lad. Thank you for ending that monster's reign of tyranny over this town." And then dialogue will end with him. But every time you talk to Admiral Yui again, he'll keep saying this. "Good show, lad. Thank you for ending," every single time. So we could always change that up, add a new event or do some other things. But that essentially completes the quest. So that's it for episode 5. You can always follow me on Patreon. I'm patreon.com/Stratix, STRATX. And I'm on Twitter, Stratix Gaming. You can follow me there. Now, we're almost done with this whole basic tutorial series, where, which in some aspects, some people might consider long and drawn out. But game development, even as basic as this, without actual coding, is not fast and quick like a super fast-paced action game. It can take time. But considering that, we've actually made really good progress. And we're almost to the end of this. We're going to do a couple more things, I think, with the shop owner in the weapon shop, and making sure that we can get some gold and maybe buy an item to to completely show again how that's done. But the majority of all the basics are pretty much covered. There's always more we can do. There will always be more. Whether basic or more advanced, there will always be more. So what I'm going to do soon, I think, I don't know if episode 5 here actually ends this series. I have to go back to my notes and see what else I want or I think needs to be done for the basics. Oh yes, I think we need to touch base on XP and leveling. And now there's a default system that RPG Maker MV is already showing us. As you can see, as you saw when I defeated the Minotaur, it said I gave it some XP to give me, but then it said I leveled up. Normally, from scratch, you have to create all that in the database. You have to create there's systems and what is it? Well, we'll discuss. I think in episode 6 we'll talk about leveling. But here we have, you can see under classes, hero, and that you can see parameter curves for max HP and this and that, an XP curve. So we'll cover. I think we'll touch base on that in episode 6, and pretty much we will probably be done. So, I wanted this to end at like the 25-minute mark. Now it's 28.5. So I'll just end it. See you in episode 6. And after that, I'm going to work on a complete game. And I'll let you know more about that in episode 6. But I'm going to go back and create a game I actually want to make, utilizing a lot of these basics. And I'm going to create a brand new series of tutorials using that game as my platform. But I'll go over more about that in episode 6. Thanks for watching again. And I'll see everybody in episode 6.